in the day. Of course, what I should do is get out of the house more often during the day too. You know, of the few streams I've been able to do in a while that I can say were actually successful, I'm surprised by the lack of sub for subs and Fortniters coming to my channel. Because I remember some time ago that was something I constantly had to deal with almost every time I had to do a stream, or once or twice I'd get someone who wants to do the whole server sub, that crazy old sub to me and I'll sub back to you thing, where people are just so desperate for subscribers that they will try to do it as a trade. I'm like, I'm not gonna sub to your channel if you don't have good content. That's why it's not exactly illegal and there's no rules that say you can't do it, but still the whole sub for sub thing is just annoying. And I often would tell people, don't sub to my channel unless you actually enjoy the content. Don't just sub for my sake or something. Petty subs. And I remember how almost every time I would check out that person's channel of these people demand, or not necessarily anyone ever like demanded it, but just the sheer number of people who would ask for the whole sub for sub nonsense. I would go to their channel and find out that they were a Fortniter. And almost every time I end up thinking to myself, freaking Fortniters, man. Like the sheer number of times that it happened. And I'm just thinking, where are they all coming from? Why can't they leave me alone? Stop coming to my channel and trying to do the whole sub for sub thing. I'm not desperate for subscribers like that. Of course, I've been putting them on blast so that everybody know about this person trying to do that shit. Like, I wouldn't really need to I wouldn't go as far as to tell people to go to this person's channel and harass them or anything, nor would I encourage it from other people. But dang, would I not hesitate to let them know how I feel about them trying to pull that on me. And sometimes I would go to their channel and find out, yep, they were a Fortniter just as I thought. Of course, there was one time where someone supposedly accused me of doing that myself, doing sub for subs, where they came to my channel and said that they got information through, I think, what was it, Facebook, or what was the other site, Facebook or Instagram? No, I think it was either Facebook or Twitter. Where they got info saying that they had information saying that I was doing that, going the whole sub for sub route, which I thought was interesting because I never did that. I never gone to anyone's channel, anyone's videos or live streams trying to do that. And I even put people on blast, telling them to stop coming to my channel and trying to do the sub for sub nonsense. So I really had no idea what the heck this guy was talking about, trying to accuse me of being someone who does that. What was they called? What was the channel? Oh yeah. They called themselves the YouTube police. It was so weird. And even to this day, I still have no idea if this person was actually dead serious about their wild accusation, or if they legit thought of themselves as someone who had authority to tell others, or could just go and harass someone about that stuff. Because this guy cannot provide any evidence of any sort that actually legitimately prove that I was trying to pull that sub for sub nonsense. I remember Flip came to one of my streams that I did after that, and I asked him if he saw my earlier stream and saw that stuff, and he said he did see it and thought it was pretty weird. Because I went to that same guy who was accusing me of that stuff. I went to his channel, and he only had one video up, which was about how he's trying to get together a bunch of people to prevent the sub for sub thing, whatever you would call it. And I remember at the end, he said how he, she, they, whatever, they said that they were going to let me go with just a warning. And nothing about what they said really bothered me, other than just how into it they seemed. And again, just the fact that I couldn't figure out if they were being serious with their accusations. It's like I say, if you're gonna accuse me of something, at least let me commit the crime you're accusing me of first, before you start throwing accusations. I just wonder who else does that. Just going around stalking on social media sites, from YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and accusing people of something with absolutely no basis and making up a lie about how they got their information from a source somewhere, and actually believing their own lies. That's creepy when that happens. Like, it's always one thing to do something because you find it funny, but to let yourself get so into it that you legitimately believe your own foolishness like that, again, there's really no other way to describe it other than creepy. Because all I can think is, why? Why are you letting yourself get like this? Man, if I can remember, I think I remember used to work with some people who were like that. No, I do remember there was definitely people who I worked with who were exactly like that, where they would make up a lie, some false accusation, and even if it didn't seem like it, you could definitely tell that they actually believed the accusation they were making of me. Which I don't know exactly where it would come from, why they were so obsessed with accusing me of this one thing, but that's just how they were. Especially when I was in Ukiah working in a culinary unit, there was definitely a guy I worked with. Excuse me. I don't know if it was all three of the guys I had problems with in the kitchen that I worked with, but I know it was this one in particular.
Vanishing point is that much stronger.
I forgot to change the volume. Don't want the game to get too much noise over me.
Phantom Stranger's a bit out of touch with reality, but he's okay. I think he predates humor, though.
But anyways, I remember, yeah, it was actually two of them who would, two of them in particular, who would always accuse me of being a snitch and reporting everything they did to the staff, to the higher ups at the kitchen we were working in, from stuff like that to, well, it was mostly that. Anytime they did something they weren't supposed to and they got in trouble for it, they would immediately blame me for whatever reason, usually omnibus. Like, somehow every time they got in trouble for something, sometimes I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't just accusing me in the workplace, but outside the workplace too, because it was at the conservation program. And I lived on campus, and so did each of these guys. So I wouldn't be surprised if anytime they got in trouble for something, not just in the kitchen that we worked in, but also on the campus that we lived on. If anytime they got in trouble for stuff around there, they would blame me, saying it was somehow my fault, saying that I saw and reported it. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was times where they were just throwing accusations at me just to make me look bad and get any shade or any bad stuff they were doing off, trying to get the higher ups attention off of them and onto me, just because they figured, well, Jason's always snitching on us, we could definitely accuse him and they'll totally believe us. Even though anytime they try to say that I did this and did that, and it just never worked out for them, because, well, unlike them, I wasn't an idiot. I wasn't doing stuff I wasn't supposed to. They can get me in trouble. I was making sure not to do those kind of things. Because my thought on it is, if you're going to do something you know you're going to get in a lot of trouble for, like, yeah, the best policy is to not do it at all. But I'm thinking, if you're just going to do it anyways because you feel like you just have to for some reason, then do a better job to not get caught then. Because if you do, that's on you. But naturally, it's pointless to try to tell guys like some of the ones I worked with, trying to tell them anything would be pointless. Because it's like I said, they were just always making accusations, assuming I was the one trying to get them in trouble. And it's like, I only ever told on them when there's something they can do that could harm someone, or if it was just a matter of them harassing me and just doing something that's just overall toxic or bad for the workplace. Yeah, it was definitely 3 guys I worked with who were constantly giving me problems, who were just bad for the workplace in general. But out of those 3, seriously, I have no idea what the heck this guy is even trying to say. Juvie fix. Is that supposed to be fixed? I don't get it. Anyways, it was two of those three who I had to deal with, who had this weird obsession with me. Like the third one, he didn't go out of his way to try to be my friend. Even though, because, well, we both knew we didn't really like each other. But at the very least, I was willing to work with him in the kitchen, as long as, wait a minute. Like, I just wanted to do my job and get it done so I can get paid. And so at least he would at least leave me alone outside the workplace. Since again, I lived on the same campus with all 3 of them. But I lived in a separate cabin from them, thank God. But unlike him, the other 2 just had this weird obsession. I wouldn't say. Actually, I don't know as far as like comparing the extent they went to try to be my friend, even though, because that's what they did. The other 2 tried to act like they were my friend, and I knew not to fall for any of that nonsense because I knew eventually they were just gonna stab me in the back. Because anytime, obviously, if anything happened in the kitchen and they would get in trouble for it, I would be the one they would accuse. Or even then, if the staff asked them what they were up to or why this or that happened, they would try to say how it was my responsibility or I'm the one at fault or it was on me or whatever. And all I can think of is, man, these guys are obsessed with trying to get me in trouble. Which was weird. All that trouble and effort they put in to get me in trouble, and yet they would somehow act like we're supposed to be friends, like I'm supposed to be the one to let it go. It was just obvious narcissism on their part. The whole I can do whatever I want and get away with it, but others can't do this exact same thing. Only I'm allowed to get away with it. That's basically the mindset they had. I forgot this is a Star Road mission. I'm like, where did he summon all these Star Wars from? And I'm just like, oh right, Star Wars mission, invasion. I'm still trying to get the other Star Wars pieces. I only have the waist piece, but the one that covers the back, the face, I have no idea how to get those. And I've been doing the Star Wars missions like constantly.
It went that well, huh? Guess if you ever have bad luck, you can always blame the gear. And don't forget to keep it up. Of course, you know. Oh, when you outpace Argus, give that guy Tempest Fusion a shout. He's a big, friendly guy. Just yes, don't forget us.
I wonder if there's Star Wars pieces that cover the hands and legs as well. Because I have no idea if there is or not. Zone Walker. Where was I? Oh yeah. I forgot what I was talking about earlier. Oh yeah, how those guys would constantly try to accuse me of stuff and get me in trouble. Dang it! I really thought Conqueror was supposed to be like a Starro piece. Like the starfish piece that's supposed to like cover your face or something. I've seen quite a few people with that. And I really want it. If only I can remember the name of it. Asteroidia. That's a weird name for it. Nope. Oh yeah, now I remember where I left off. Those crazy guys who I worked with, those narcissistic jackasses. All I can say is again that I don't know where exactly their obsession with me, where it started from or how it began. Because all I can remember is I would just do my job in the workplace, and the only time I would report them is if they gave me a reason to. Specifically, they were harassing me. That was usually what it was first and foremost. Like if they were harassing me and giving me a hard time at work for no reason. But it just extended from bothering me at work to also harassing me on campus. Especially the younger one of those two. Like he wouldn't admit it, but I'm pretty sure that guy was actually gay and just had this ridiculously just weird crush on me.
The portal will take you where you want to go.
Because he would just not leave me alone sometimes. And the number of times he would try to force his way into my cabin, it was only like once when he was successful. Because it was one of my roommates who was close to the door and he managed to get past him. And the dude lied saying that he just wanted to come and check up on me. Like I needed him checking up on me, seeing how I was doing. Like he didn't say why he wanted to quote unquote check up on me. He just said that's why he wanted to go in there. And I'm thinking, you don't exactly just force your way into someone else's living space to check up on them. 'Cause that's just excessive. That, not to mention a lot of comments he would make were supposedly, ooh, I actually like these. The hand pieces look pretty cool. But again, that was just my assumption that he was just lying, that he just had his obsession, wanted to see what was going on in my room, what kind of stuff I had. And there was other times after that where he would try to force his way into my cabin. And I told my roommates, yeah, this guy in particular, yeah, he's not welcome in here. Don't let him anywhere in here. And they understood that. That's why whenever there's others hanging in the cabin, and one of my roommates whose room was right next to the door, he would have it open. And the same weird dude I had to put up with, if he saw the door was open, he would either try to run in before my roommate could close the door, or he would just stand there by the door ready for his chance to just rush on in. Because one time he did that, and I saw him, and my roommate told him, hey, what are you doing here? You're not welcome in here. And he tried to lie his way to get in, saying, oh, that's alright, Jason said I can come in. And he saw me, he started winking at me.
These missions are all worthy causes.
And I just shook my head saying no. But that was just one of the creepiest things he or anyone I could think of did. Like to just blatantly lie about how I supposedly gave him permission to come in, and just winking constantly. Like, no, that's not gonna fucking work. I ain't letting you in here. Like, they won't let you in here because I told them not to let you in here. And that was just for one of them. The other one who had a session with me trying to get me in trouble, while also trying his hardest to act like he was my friend. I really don't know what his deal was. Like, I talked to one of the staff, one of the security guards there. I was like, man, what is up with this dude always trying his hardest to try to intimidate me at work, like I'm supposed to be scared of him? And he told me himself that maybe the reason why is because maybe I intimidate him. I was just like, well, wait, how? I don't even try to intimidate him. Of course, one thing I learned is that you can tell someone's good at intimidating others when they don't try. Like, if you don't try, you just do, then I don't know what other way to put it. Like, when you become good at something, that's just it. You just do it. You don't have to try. So I guess that's what it was between me and him. I guess maybe in a way. Aw, son of a... I hate when this happens. Oh, here it is. Haha, they thought they could trap me. But anyways, for this guy, and unlike that 18-year-old kid who had his weird obsession, his weird crush on me, this dude was actually older than me. Like about a year and a half or 2 years. Let's see, he was 26 at the time, and I was 24. So yeah, he was about like between 2 to 1.5 years older. But for some reason, I don't know. I definitely was taller than him, but I don't know if I was like, if I would say I was like heavier or had more muscle mass. Maybe because I still did exercise regularly. I don't think he did. But yeah, he was definitely one of those types, one of those who think they could use their muscles and their aggressive attitude to try to intimidate others to get what they want. Just basically a little kid in a grown man's body. That's just what he was. But it wasn't until that staff member pointed out that maybe he was intimidated by me and felt nervous around me, that's why he was trying to do the same to me in return. Like it was some kind of weird competition. And those are maybe the weirdest kind of competitions, when like you're not trying to compete with that person at something, but they are. So anytime you're doing something and you're good at it or decent or whatever the case is, and others acknowledge how good you are at it, so then for some reason they see you do that, and they're like, oh, I could beat him at that. So that's what they try to do, try to beat you at something, or to prove to others that they can do it too.
Mr. Luther said to expect some specialists on the scene.
Oh wait, I knew that.
As you know, there's an unknown ship that crashed here. Unfortunately, Star Labs security got here before us. Secure their research stations for us, and don't let them near that ship.
I'm trying to remember what was one of the weirdest things that same dude who was older than me that he tried to do to me that I just found weird. I can't remember. There was just a lot of stuff he did. He was definitely one of those types who was always doing extra. But I do remember in particular, one time he tried to intimidate me because me and one of the others I worked with, who I got along with pretty well, we weren't really roughhousing because we weren't actually hitting each other. It was like right after work. And we was just throwing fake shots at each other, pretending like we were actually fighting. And this dude comes up almost directly behind me and throws a punch. Doesn't actually hit me. And I guess it was trying to make me flinch or something. I didn't flinch, but I did turn around and look right at him with a confused look. And his immediate instinct was to square up and try to... What do you call that stance exactly? Where they have their fist pumped and their arms up. That sort of come at me bro sort of stance and look that he had. I don't know, but if anything, it was more funny than it was anything else. And I guess again, I guess that was just his way of trying to intimidate me, but it was the way he did it, the way he looked was just so ridiculous that whenever I was messing around with any of the others, in or out of the workplace, I would make that same face and do that same stance, and they would immediately recognize it as me imitating him. That's just how funny it was. Because me and there was one other guy who I was actually good friends with, where we would tell each other about the crazy things he would do to try and intimidate us, or whenever he got mad because he wanted something from us or would demand something from us and we wouldn't let him have it. Because one thing he would do to my friend, both in and out of the workplace, was he would walk past him and purposely bump into him. I try to shoulder check him a bit, just out of pettiness. So what me and my friend would do is, we pretend to talk in a tough guy voice, like we're pretending to be him, and just start bumping into each other, shoulder to shoulder, over and over again. Just like how that guy would try to do the same thing. I don't think there was ever once I felt intimidated or scared by him. He was just always trying too hard. But the number of times people said that I ended up scaring them, or I would see the scared looks on their faces whenever I said or did something. And again, I just never tried, but I guess that's one of the advantages of just naturally being taller than most people around you. I'd have to say, definitely out of all the jobs I worked and all the years I lived, definitely working in the conservation corps in the culinary unit would be where I had some of the weirdest co-workers ever. Well, not just the conservation corps, but also job corps. I had some pretty weird and generally creepy co-workers. And it was supposed to be like a training program. So places like that was supposed to be a hybrid of a job slash school slash training program, like Job Corps and the Conservation Corps. That's definitely where I'd say I met some of the weirdest people I've ever dealt with. And just the sheer number of them claiming to be grown adults and yet they act way more childish. Yeah, there was times where I would say or do things that could be considered childish. That's just me messing around with my friends, and I would still do it in a more controlled form where I'm just doing it just to be funny or entertain myself and my friends around me. Not really being childish purposely to annoy people for no reason. Unlike a lot of those others who were very childish, and yet they demanded that you treat them like adults, or even demand your obedience and demand that you treat them like they're your superior, even though they're not, because they're the same entry level workers like you are. But they see themselves as a superior of sorts, so again, they would demand that you treat them like that. And if you don't, then they will officially hold a grudge against you, and they will start harassing you, doing whatever they can just to get on your bad side or annoy you. And anything you do that they don't approve of, they will report you for it. And if you do the same, they will treat that as a bad thing and say how you're a snitch and you're this and that. And I say this a lot, but that's just creepy. Because there's really no other way to describe that sort of behavior that a lot of these people have, who despite their age, oh wow, good job, who despite their age, they're content to just act like children whenever they don't get their way. Such a unfortunate example of pure entitlement.
Nice work. Let's see who or what is in that ship.
Not so fast, Lex. We need to talk.
Super.
Wish there was a way you could switch your mentors and your alignment. Switch Karana to hero and her alignment be, or switch her mentor to Superman or Batman.
What? Someone has broken into my office and have demanded to see the two of us.
This mystery
Although
person
really,
contacted
choosing
me.
your mentor only really has an effect when you first create your character and you're going through all the missions to reach level 30. That's really like the only effect that it has. Because otherwise there really be no point. Yeah, that's like the only thing that would change. Because once you reach level 30, there's really no other like official mandatory missions to do, and thus there's no point in you trying to interact with your mentor anymore after that.
In my office, I passed all of my security, including the record scanners. You're going to regret it.
Really? Lead-lined walls, Lex? And you want me to believe this isn't a trap? I've already told the Justice League I'm here.
Trust me, all the ways I've imagined killing you, this is not one. Now let's go. You want my office? I hate you. Mess with my station.
Yeah. Seeing Luthor just get so mad the way he does in this mission is just funny.
Good afternoon, Lex. And I assume this is Superman.
It's uncanny. He looks just like you.
Forgive me. Alexander. While my hijacking this office may seem like a threat, I'm sure a much more dire thing. Enough, loquacious wit. I'll show you how I deal with threats. Don't like it. Wait. Lex, wait. You heard about it. I'm warning you. This is my office. Run, fuck off. Get back.
Speaking of superstitious, what was it? Stupitions? I think pretentious is the word that I'm looking for. Pretentious, self-entitled jerks. Lex Luthor fits that description to a fault. Literally everything he does, he claims is for the advancement of humanity. But really, it's all just for himself. Like how he claims that everything he does is to help humanity. But he doesn't really care about humanity. He just wants to be seen. He just wants to be seen as God amongst men. So that's really part of what fuels his hatred for Superman. Superman is able to effortlessly gain the respect and admiration of the public, and unlike Lex Luthor, for Superman, the admiration he gains from the public, the respect he gains from his community, it all just comes to him naturally, and he doesn't have to work for it. Not to mention his powers, he was simply born with. Unlike Lex Luthor, he had to work his way from the ground up to get where he is. And even then, he still doesn't even get the total admiration of everyone around him like he demands. It just shows the huge contrast between someone who's honest and humble versus someone who's entitled and manipulative and narcissistic. Like, dealing with people who are narcissistic can be scary sometimes. In addition to just being emotionally draining. That's why for me it's just not good to have someone whose narcissism is part of their core personality. Having them as a friend or even as an associate, it's just exhausting.
Maybe this will learn some sense.
I hate how during this boss fight, Alexander just spams the Dcuo maneuver.
I am not your enemy. Please, you must listen. I come from another world, another Earth. Similar to yours, but ruled by tyranny.
Getting tired.
What you say is true, and this is a problem for the Justice League.
Listen, summon. Thank you for coming. I'm here because an immensely powerful group of super beings called the Crime Syndicate.
Now, where was I?
Violence.
Oh yeah, let's talk about narcissists, but yeah, let's move on to something else. Can't really think of anything else to talk about at the moment.
Unlike your Justice League against President Last Year.
I don't think it's wise to take it on. You can't trust Andy.
That's fucked up, Batman.
Even if he has the face of Harley, there are billions of lives at stake. I could use the lasso to compel him.
We don't need to.
So yeah, that's always one of the sad things. When you're associated with someone in some way, like you're from the same, like you're not friends with that person, but you're from the same friend group, or you're related to someone, like someone who's your brother, cousin, uncle, aunt, mother, or father, and they did something messed up or screwed up in the past, and therefore people will take it out on you just because you're related to them. That has to suck. That's why for me, there's nothing bad about being related to people who aren't famous. So at least that way I don't have to worry about anyone expecting me to be just like whoever I'm related to, just because of, yeah, you know what I mean. There was a friend I had who had that sort of issue for a while when we were in Job Corps. Because he had a cousin who was, I don't know what it was, I think it was schizophrenia. But he was crazy, constantly making death threats to people, always talking mess, and just making an enemy out of nearly everyone around him, and being an overall nuisance and a would-be menace.
Now that we're here, I suggest we split up.
But it got to the point where What the heck was Cyborg doing? It got to the point that same crazy guy, his cousin, my friend, had people harassing him, going up to him and telling him how, well, he's your cousin, you need to talk to him, you need to do something about him. And I'm like, yeah, I would be so annoyed. Like, yeah, this person may be my relative, but they're not even my brother at best. They're just a cousin. We're not responsible, and he's a grown guy, so even more why he's responsible for his own actions. Like, I would tell them, hey, you're grown people, you deal with it. I ain't dealing with your problems for you. Yeah, I would definitely be a complete jackass about it. Tell them to go ask someone else for help. Because I certainly wouldn't. But yeah, that's the crazy thing. They don't realize that. It just shows how scared they are of that person. And not to mention overall how bossy and demanding they are. That they think they can demand that this person go and talk to this person or handle it for them. Because I'm thinking, well, why don't you tell that person yourself? Or handle it yourself unless you're scared of them. Because they'll say, well, I'm not scared of that person. Well, okay, but you're over here telling me to go talk to them instead of you confronting themselves, despite your tough person exterior.
I got 20 bucks on the one on the left.
I remember one of my friends actually pointed that out about me, because there was a dude talking mess about me over some petty stuff. And I was like, man, tell him all this and all that. And he's like, what, you can't tell him for yourself? And I was thinking to myself, oh man, he's right, because I'm not scared of this guy. So there really is no reason why I couldn't just tell him myself.
Your time as mayor is over. You're under arrest for obstruction of justice.
Man, some of these moves, a lot of these AI units or unplayable characters, NPCs that they use, I wish you could use them as well.
Good, he's gone. Move quickly.
Like the way Cheetah fights in this game, I wish that was a fighting style on its own, so that way people who make furrow style characters or give them any of the non-human skins, like the animal based skins, or even for the robotic skins, just give them a style like Cheetah's. So that way, instead of being forced to use something like martial arts or brawling, it's to get more animalistic, more cross strikes or cross slashes, or styles, some moves like what Batman, Owlman, and the Leagues of Assassins use that are more martial arts and acrobatic based. Because some of the moves, some of the punches and combos you get in martial arts aren't even martial arts at all. Like the smoke grenade. See the smoke grenade. And that weird elbow drop. And that, I guess that's supposed to be capoeira, but that elbow drop just looks so weird. Like it looks more like they're landing back on the opponent as opposed to actually trying to land on them with their elbow. I mean, that looks cool. I don't know what the heck that's supposed to be. Another weird elbow strike. Whoa. Trying to get rid of that shit. I'm too fast for you, man. I remember when I first created Karana, I created this idea that her character was someone who wanted to learn magic so badly that she turned to Circe to hopefully teach her magic.
Then by all means, let's get to work.
And it would be that as the story goes on, the more she works for Circe, the more she realizes that Circe is just using her, and she would never actually bother to teach Karana magic. So it kind of went from that to where it's like her speed came not from magic, but from absorbing the powers of a dying god. Ah, I probably should have kept that. Dang it! What the heck does that even mean? Can't open the marketplace. That makes no sense. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, the idea that she wanted to learn magic and realizes she's being used, so Circe would never teach her. She abandons her. Then it went from that to, let's see. It was kind of the same concept, but again, she also had the powers of a god, thus explaining her super speed. Like, she came into contact with a god who was on the verge of dying, and he wanted to pass on his powers to her for some reason, so he did, and that's how she gained her super speed. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, because she's also extremely skilled in martial arts. It was like a combination. At first, it was just Muay Thai, but then it came a combination of still mostly Muay Thai, while also learning a bit of Aikido and what was it? Aikido. So basically, Aikido and boxing, just to make her a bit more well-rounded in fighting. But Muay Thai would be at the core of her style. So magic, godlike powers, and martial arts. But then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, wouldn't that just be unnecessary? Like, still there would be deities and entities and even mortals still more powerful than her who could kill her easily. But all that just seemed excessive for someone like her. So then I went from that to John Vought. I like that. But anyways, it went from that to, yeah, I just basically dropped the whole magic aspect of it to where instead she starts off as someone who's very skilled and proficient in martial arts, but still gains the powers of that god that eventually died. And instead of Muay Thai, I switched it from Muay Thai to La Wei, or Lath Wei, however you want to pronounce it. Which, from what I read, it's a lot like Muay Thai, but they practice without any protective equipment, and it emphasizes the use of headbutts. So whereas like Muay Thai is referred to as the art of 8 limbs, Lath Wei or La Wei, I think, is that how they pronounce it in Burmese? Because that's what they call it, Burmese kickboxing. So I can't remember if that's the Burmese, how in Burmese that's how they pronounce it as La Wei, because it's spelled Lethwei. And so I guess it just depends on the accent you'll have and what language you're speaking it in. where it could be pronounced as Lethway, where you pronounce the TH, or Leway, where you pronounce it without the TH. Man, human language is weird sometimes. But anyways, so she would still have the boxing Aikido, with instead of Muay Thai, it's Leway. What's going on in the dang chat? What you need, companionship. Not likely in this game. I need to see what's the point of adding these other parts. Set melee, hold melee, dark mark. Envelop yourself in a protective shield that prevents damage. Also envelops the 3 most injured group members with a protective shield that prevents damage. What does it mean by corrupted? I'm guessing this is part of why you don't see too many people using... I forgot, what the hell is it called? Celestial. Well, you don't see too many people use Celestial or even talk about it. Because when I hear people talking about the most useful or most useless powers, it's always atomic, fire, ice, earth, rage. Literally almost every other power gets brought up except for Celestial. The only other one I rarely hear about as well would be water. That's like the only other one that I don't hear about people talk about as often. Oh man, I need to use the bathroom. I don't know what it is. Like definitely visually and or aesthetically, Celestial and water look fun, but compared to other powers, I'm guessing they just don't have as much damage. Not to mention how complex Celestial feels. Like unlike atomic or any other power, Celestial has all these, as I would call them, additives or other like secondary abilities that comes from constantly tapping or holding any certain buttons after you use a certain ability. All these chains and combinations, so it can feel so like unless you actually take the initiative to learn how to use them or remember it or memorize them, yeah, you can easily forget. Like, okay, so do I hold this button or tap this button with this ability or that ability? Is there a certain timing to it? Stuff like that can get very annoying very fast. So the quote-unquote complexity that comes with Celestial can be what deters some people from using it, because it did for me. At first I figured, okay, I'll give Celestial a try, and I thought, yeah, I don't like it. There's way too much to memorize for this set. Conquerors, is that moat or mate? I don't even get that. Some of these items I wish they would tell you instead of you having to look up online where to get these items. Oh, seriously, I gotta use the bathroom. Wait, is this microphone even working? Use the bathroom. Wait, is this microphone even working? Yeah, it's definitely working. Alright, I'm gonna take a quick restroom break, and so giving me about 5-6 minutes. Shouldn't take me too long. Maybe 10 minutes. And I'm back. No problems whatsoever. Oh, sweet. Someone would like to reply I made on another video. There's a question someone asked on the internet. Superman versus Red Hulk, who would win? See, it's questions like these Can Superman solo the Invincible universe? I feel like that goes without saying, but yeah, he can. The kind of insane power Superman has, not to mention his ability to absorb infinite amounts of power from the yellow sun. Of course, the ability to do that, absorb power from the yellow sun, it's like one of those sort of power sources that's both an advantage and disadvantage, a double-edged sword basically. Because yeah, he could absorb power from the sun, but he has to be somewhere in an environment where he's exposed to the yellow sun. Doesn't have to be touching it or near it, but just somewhere where he's in reach of a yellow sun's cosmic rays. Or even a blue sun, which boosts his powers even further. But apparently blue suns are very rare in DC Universe. Wait, is blue... There's no way a blue sun's an actual phenomenon in real life, is it? Well, anyways. So yeah, Superman can gain a lot of power, but he has to conserve that power, because should he find himself in an environment where he's forced to fight where there's no yellow sun, it's like yeah, like if you put him in an environment where he was somewhere with the yellow sun for him to absorb energy, but somewhere suddenly he's forced into an environment without a yellow sun, like even just fighting at night can put him at a disadvantage because there's no immediate solar energy for him to absorb. Of course, as fast as he is, Superman could easily just fly to the other side of the planet. But that's the issue with it. Yeah, he can do that, but if there's an immediate danger to the environment, to the citizens, like fighting someone like Doomsday, no way can Superman just fly off to the other side of the world where it's daytime, because then he'll be leaving everyone else at the hands of Doomsday, and he's not the kind to just do that. Because in whatever a few seconds or minutes it would take for him to absorb more energy from the sun, that's all the time someone like Doomsday would need to unleash all kinds of hell. Of course, it's still been said that his Kryptonian cells still, it's like a battery. It still holds energy that can be preserved. He just has to be careful with how much power he's using, especially solar energy or heat vision. Considering how out of all of his powers, heat vision uses up solar energy the most. And well, that's just Kryptonians in general. At least it's nowhere near as bad, unlike Superboy Prime. Because yeah, Superboy Prime gains power twice as fast as any other Kryptonian throughout the multiverse, but he also burns through that power twice as fast. Like the moment he's in an environment with no yellow sun, not necessarily being surrounded by kryptonite or heat vision, but just anywhere where he's cut off from his access to solar energy, he almost immediately loses his powers because again he just burns through it so fast. And I don't know if that's just because his body requires twice as much solar energy, or him just being reckless and using up his power without any concern with how much he's using at that time. But anyways, for Superman, I'm trying to think. Like, you have someone like Superman. I don't know, people talk about how he's OP and all of that, but solar energy, while he can absorb infinite power, it still acts like a limiter of sorts. The one thing he has to rely on to have that power in the first place. So he's no, as long as he's able to have that access to yellow solar energy, or even blue solar energy, he's good. But put him in an environment where he doesn't have access to it, then he's gonna lose that eventually. So just something he has to be cautious of. Well, him and Kryptonians in general. But the payoff.
Let me just power these up.
The payoff for that is the infinite amounts of power they gain in the end. Which is why Kryptonians are among the most powerful mortals and well, just about any universe. As far as like species that are naturally born with their powers. Because you have others like Shazam and Black Adam, champions of the wizard. And then you have others like Captain Atom and Major Force.
I appreciate your willingness to help.
Because those four are examples of people who have powers that rival, if not sometimes even surpass, someone like Superman's, a Kryptonian. But they're not born with their powers, so you wouldn't likely see a whole army of them all over the place, considering how careful the wizard is with who he chooses to inherit his power. Like any others who have the powers of the wizard are not given power directly by the wizard himself, but through any of his chosen warriors. Like Osiris? Yeah, I'm trying to remember, what was the name of Black Adam's wife, who's the older sister of Osiris? Yeah, Isis, I think it was her name. Like, he gained his power from Black Adam sharing it with him. And then you have the rest of the Marvel family, or now known as the Shazam family, whose powers all come from Shazam himself, from Billy Batson. But the only other species that I can think of where everyone in that species is born with that level of power that can rival Kryptonians are Martians. Now, unlike Martians, yeah, again, Kryptonians, they can come to a level of power that far surpasses even a Martian, simply because unlike Kryptonians, Martians, their level of power is constant. Like, it's just at that level it always is. Like, Martian Manhunter has strength that rivals Superman's, but he doesn't have the ability to become stronger than he already is, because his body doesn't absorb like solar energy or any kind of like energy source. So it probably requires some unusual methods for someone like even Johns or Megan Morse to gain more power, or a higher power level than what they already have. But the payoff from that is that Martians literally have the exact same powers Kryptonians have, plus so much more.
You are gonna love this next timescape.
What do I even get to use that with? Hey, there's a bug on my screen. Alright, got it. Well, bastard thing is gonna fly on my dang screen. Is my window open? No, it is.
Go on. You should have the controls ready to get on out there. Your transport's ready. You just need to activate your personal controls.
Who's that talking? That ain't Rip Hunter, is it?
You have the assignment. Take care of it. I guess.
Complete a Save the Universe raid. Raids are fun, but man, does it take so long to get one started with people. Of course, ever since they decided to do this weird nerf to combat ratings, where any mission you go on, I don't know why who the hell was the idiot who thought that was a good idea? Where from now on, any raids or missions you go on, immediately your combat rating is adjusted to that exact mission. So basically, if your combat rating is something like 300, but you do a mission that's only, what, 84, then your combat rating is adjusted for that mission, drops from 300 to 84. So you can forget about just one-shotting everyone, including the bosses. Which I'm like, you mean to tell me I put in the time and effort to get my character all the way up to whatever level for nothing in the past? Like seriously, who was the idiot who thought this was a good idea for that as part of the update? Because everything else with this update I'm fine with. It's just the combat rating nerfs that irritate me the most. That and the fact that they took away the stabilizer fragment, the stabilizer missions, and what was the other thing? I forgot what it was called. But it was like it was basically you go inside this Joker playhouse and you just smash all the boxes, all the presents, and it just gives you random items. And they also took away the vendors. I'm trying to think. The sort of vendors where what items they have available depends on your character's progress as they try to reach up to from level 1 to all the way to level 30. I'm like, who the hell was the idiot who thought taking those away was a good idea as well? Because we still get stabilizers or stabilizer keys. So why still keep giving us those stabilizer capsules if you're not going to give us the stabilizers themselves to unlock them? That was also another thing they took away, another change in the update that was just so stupid. There's just times where people do an update to a game and I feel like that update is just unnecessary. Type T8, what the hell? Like as if someone's thinking, hey, what's the easiest way to piss off all these people? I know, let's take away this while also adding this and that and just do something completely unnecessary just to irritate everyone. Oh, okay, I see what they mean. Yeah, the enemy's not taking damage. Okay, this is definitely glitched. It is definitely glitched. I am out of here. And one thing I noticed a while ago is that I have a like every character I have a character for at least every power that's available in this game, except for sorcery. And I have room to create just one more character. So one thing they need to do is add back those store-specific vendors or level-based vendors that some character that you get. Add that back. Add back the I just call them treasure hunts, since that's really all it is. Joker's Playhouse, wherever that's supposed to be. Add that back as well, and stabilizer missions. Stabilizer fragmentation.
Bloody villains. I think Brainiac is doing us all a favor.
Because just getting rid of those was just so stupid, just so unnecessary. And it can't be because, well, could it be because they were worried about people's characters in this game getting too powerful? Considering people are just casually now getting to level 30 and higher. I've yet to run into anyone who's actually level 400, but definitely some who are close to some extent of reaching 400. But I'm thinking, but then it's their fault for making it possible to reach that higher level. Yeah, whenever developers just make an unnecessary change when updating something, I really would like to know what the heck was going through that person's mind when they gave the okay to do this or do that, or whatever idea they come up with. Like, do they not think, you know, if we do things this way, we're probably just going to piss off a lot of people and it won't really help accomplish anything. Like when it comes to a character in a fighting game who's already low tier and they decided to make an unnecessary change to that character that makes them even more of a low tier. Like some people say tiers don't matter, but the truth of the fact is they do actually. There's a reason why that character is a low tier in the first place, because they have way more bad matchups than a lot of other characters in the game on average.
The math behind this is complicated.
What a nerd. But where was I? Oh yeah, just certain updates they make, and it makes me wonder like what their intention is. Because if so many people start complaining about it because they all believe it's a legitimate issue, do they ever intend on fixing it or do anything about it? Or do they just say, oh well, and just ignore the problem? Because I told others how I think the nerfs to combat ratings in this game are just stupid. And a lot of people try to say something like, nope, or they'll say how it's just me. And I'm like, how is it just me? I'm not the only one who's affected by it. Everyone else also has to deal with the fact that their combat ratings don't matter anymore because every mission just auto adjusts it. According to some people, they say that the reason why they did that was to encourage higher ranked players to help the lower ranked players. Which I'm thinking, if that is true, that's why they did those nerfs. That is a very stupid reason. Because like, what if someone's a high rating, but they don't want to help others get a higher combat rating? They just want to play the game and enjoy what it has to offer. They don't care about everyone else's combat rating in relation to theirs. In which case, then you shouldn't try to enforce that idea to try to say something like, well, you're a higher combat rating, you have to help these lower ranked players. Oh my goodness, if it doesn't let me do the dang mission already. Here we go. That's ever since I first played this game, that's always been annoying. Where I queue up for a mission, so it'll just keep telling me how the mission's ready, it's available for me to do it. So I would press X, and instead of immediately taking to the mission, it would be a few minutes before it says how the mission's available and ready, and I'll press X again. Like, it wouldn't even say that it's because someone left the instance so that they have to find a new group for me. Which is like, it shouldn't be a matter of finding me a whole nother group just because someone left that instance. But I wonder if they're going to take away this stupid combat rating nerfs once they are ready for the next update. Yeah, we need more Lunarians, not Kryptonians. Man, it ain't even the middle of summer anymore. Like, we're getting closer to fall, and yet I still have to have the dang fan on because of how hot it gets in my room. Something that sucks about my room, just how easily it gets so warm in here. I just have to have the fan on almost constantly so I don't feel like I'm heating up even at night. Visionary powers definitely do look cool. But if I had to choose between vision based or palm-based energy blast, I would rather be able to shoot it from my hands instead. Because I'd imagine shooting energy from your eyes. Whew. Like, it would look cool, but in real life, I'd imagine it wouldn't be very practical. But I did see, I think it was like the only trailer we used so far for Eternals. And there was one guy who was shown flying around fighting the Externals. No, not the Externals. The Deviants. I call them Externals. Anyways, one of the Eternals who was fighting a bunch of Deviants. And he was shooting energy beams from his eyes. Yellow energy beams. So I don't know for sure if it's him, but I'm gonna assume that's Hyperion. In which case, if it is, that's cool. If not, oh well. Although I wonder if the Eternals are gonna wear any costumes similar to what their comic book counterparts wore. Because like I said, if that guy they showed in the trailer that I'm thinking of is Hyperion, but hopefully he gets to wear his costume from the comics. Saying that like he owns them. Lex Luthor is so entitled he thinks whatever you have inside your house is automatically his. See you later, fellow flying heavy hitter. Now, oftentimes the story of Hyperion is that he's an Eternal, but actually no, I think it's the Hyperion who had the black costume. What was it, Marcus Milton? I don't know about every other version of Hyperion. If they too, like him, the one with the black and gold costume, I think that's his name, Marcus Milton? Or Mark Milton? One of those, where he comes from a alternate universe. Because I think in Earth 616, because every universe has the Eternals. Wait, they're both the exact same thing. Oh well. But anyways, I wonder if every version of Hyperion is supposed to be like the pinnacle of strength for an Eternal, or stronger than every other Eternal on their respective home planets, since you have so many different versions. That's kind of what irritates me about Hyperion. You have all these different versions that keep coming to Earth 616. And there's really never been one that stuck around as the official current Hyperion. Because definitely out of all of them, the one with the black costume, Marcus Milton, is my favorite. Probably because out of all of them, he's the one with the most, I don't know who's the most like developed story or plot wise.
This armor, are you the champion worthy of wearing it?
Ursa, the same Ursa we just fought alongside, who fought alongside Non, and who the hell else was it? Zod. Oh, sweet. What's up, crazy fool? One, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that will come to 50. What am I even saving my source myself for? Would there be anything truly worth purchasing anymore? Maybe like in a later update. What you got going on over here?
Got to slow down these abductions. Hit the streets and find those cultists.
That Blue Lantern costume for Power Girl looks awesome. What if I could create a story like that, where with Norvar here, instead of being part of an alien race, he's from Earth, but from like an alternate Earth, and he gained his powers from an external source that gives him strength on par with Superman. Nah, the real question would be, why the hell would I want to do that? Because my story with a character like Norvar is that he's part of an alien race, Lunarians. The only real thing would be a matter of explaining how exactly he got his powers. Because unlike his second Earth counterpart, Najax, who's basically him from the second Earth, but Najax is older and far more powerful, and a straight up sociopath. But with Najax, he was given power by the embodiment of chaos itself, whereas Norvar, I don't know how I'd do that. And that's just far as like if I were to create him as a character within DC Universe. Hey, I'll keep it that. I don't know why, it's like for some reason I just don't like the idea of my main character simply just being born with all that power. I'd rather be where unlike Martians or Kryptonians, where instead Lunarians are more like humans as far as physicality. And my main character, his power would be like he gains it from bonding with a god. So kind of like Shazam, but without any of the magic aspects. Like all his powers and abilities, they could be considered supernatural or unnatural because he's not born with those powers. But they're not exactly kind of basically godlike powers where it's not magic, but it's not something that can be classified or easily understood or explained by science either. That's basically what someone like an Ajax with his power would be. Where it comes from, like his main abilities stem from the control of dark matter. But again, the way he's able to do it is so unusual to where it can't be something that's it can't be easily defined or explained by science. But it's by no means is it magic. Like it's not magic at all. Yeah, that would be something pretty cool. It's not magic, but it's not understood by science. Because his power comes from an entity who itself, her very existence cannot be understood by humans. Like with Cthulhu. I remember when I watched that animated film Heavy Metal, and one of the scenes involving the main character, Den, when he's transported to a different planet, across a different dimension.
Good work.
He comes across this crazy cult that uses this object called the Lochnar, and their attempt to summon Ulatek. But of course, I don't know if Ulatek ever shows up in any of the comics featuring Den, but definitely in the animated film he doesn't show up. But it wasn't until I remember the name of this website. I think it's called tvtropes.com, but it's a website where it talks about the different tropes that you see throughout whatever form of media, or heck, probably even in real life too. And it turns out that the entity they worshipped, Ulatek, was literally Cthulhu, because Ulatek is Cthulhu spelled backwards. So basically, they're trying to summon Cthulhu. And I'm thinking, those freaking idiots. You know, I wish the flirtatious stance for males wasn't so, I want to say, exaggerative. The way the males stand in the if they're given the flirtatious personality is just so extra. The way they're just standing there like they're swinging their head around, compared to females, where literally the females are just standing there regularly with their hands on their hips while slightly leaning to the side. But I can imagine someone a woman just standing in a flirtatious way can stand like that, unlike a guy who's trying to look flirtative or flirtatious, just doing all this. Hey, it's Thanos. I remember at some point, me and some guys, when we were watching Infinity War, and it was showing how Thanos is so powerful, he could, with just a few moves, not just defeat, but straight up knock out the likes of Hulk and could kill even gods like Thor if given a chance. Because he did kill Loki and Heimdall, But of course, Loki's not a god. He's a frost giant. But anyways, he's able to kill even deities despite him being completely mortal himself. Although it is explained in the comics that, let's see, in the comics, Thanos is supposed to be an Eternal, but his appearance, due to some weird genetic flaw, that he's an Eternal, but he has the appearance of a deviant. So just that his DNA heritage coming from Eternals, or being born an Eternal, is part of what gives him his insane strength. So a combination of being an Eternal, cybernetic enhancements he made to himself, and dabbling a little bit of magic is how he's able to increase his physical strength to such high levels in the comics. In the movies, I don't think it's ever explained how he's that powerful. Of course, it doesn't really go that far to explain how a lot of characters or a lot of entities are so powerful. Because at some point you just have to accept that they just simply are. Like, it's just not a matter of why they're so powerful, it's just a matter of the fact that they just are. But anyways, with Thanos, when I saw how he killed Loki and Heimdall and defeated Hulk, and definitely could have killed Thor a few times, it wouldn't give it the opportunity in Endgame. Endgame, this was like fresh after Infinity War came out, and we came to the conclusion that Thanos was a Titan. But then again, Titans, as far as like Titans, especially Titans who being more powerful than gods, that's really like only, well, I can't say it's only in that it's only in Greek mythology, but that's the most popular mythology where Titans appear in. Because I don't know about other mythologies like Egyptian or Norse. No, I don't think there's a such thing as Titans in Norse mythology. Definitely there's the giants, Jotunheim, that the gods have been in conflict with. But I can't remember as far as Titans when it comes to being, or any creatures being referred to as Titans in any other mythology. But again, that's the idea we came up with for Thanos, that he was a step above gods because he was a Titan. Only for me to read into and find out, no, that's really not the case, because Thanos, he's immortal, just extremely powerful, very ridiculously strong for a mortal. Enough so that he can give other physically strong mortals like the Hulk, who's also stronger than a god like Thor. And even Thor is supposed to be the strongest of his people, even physically stronger than Odin. But then again, for one thing, Odin's an old man, and I'm guessing even for gods, old age would probably have an effect on the physicality and the physical abilities. But of course, it's not his physical strength that a lot of people fear from Odin, but all the other powers that he has, the so-called Odin force or whatever. But I don't know, I think that's just kind of cool when you have characters like Thanos and Hulk, where they were 100% mortal, but they have like something that gives them that power. Either they're born with that power, or they're given that power through some other means that allows them to physically go toe to toe with even the strongest of gods from the various pantheons. Where you have some gods within that pantheon who can either rival someone like Hulk or Thanos, if not succeed them in strength. Of course, that's as far as physical strength. Anything else as far as like raw energy, that's like a different story. Where it's like it's definitely the only deity that I could think of, or that I know of. Well, no, there's deities who could take down or kill immortals like Hulk and Thanos easily. Because the first one that came to my mind was the one above all, basically Marvel Comics' version of God in the Marvel Universe. Because over on the DC side, they have God, but instead of God, he's referred to as the Presence, but still basically God. Wait a minute. What other missions do I have? 4-player runs, 8-player runs. Find me a raid that I feel like doing. Man, I wish you could choose the raid still instead of the I don't know, the whole thing with Omnibus forcing you to do randomized missions is weird. I'm like, why would I want to randomize? Why not let me choose? I guess it's good for if you have no idea what the heck kind of mission you want to do. So you just go to random and like, okay, I'll see what the game chooses for me. So I'd say it's good for that. Superman. Another person who could take on gods, both new and old gods. Too many NPCs talking at once. Original female hero. I don't know why, but I like that name. Did they actually leave? Thought this was Sunstone. What garbage is this? Garbage? I mean, can you really say you're right to get testy like that when you know full well the whole thing is randomized? But you should have been paying attention to when they chose the mission for you. Oh well. But anyways, characters like my character here in Ajax. I remember that's how I had him start off, where he has power that's definitely godlike, because he can casually destroy whole planets. But then the entity Chaos ends up increasing his power, so he goes from planetary level to cosmic level. Because at that point, I don't know, I don't know if Marvel or DC has characters who are like that, where they're immortal, but the power is literally cosmic level, to where not only does it rival some and surpass others as far as gods and deities in general, but even cosmic forces. Cosmic forces tend to be more powerful than gods in comics, usually because unlike gods who exist, like they're way more powerful than mortals normally. But then you have cosmic entities whose existence are absolutely mandatory for the universe to be kept stabilized. Aha! A Kryptonian! Let's go Brainiac and his obsession with Kryptonians. I remember Brainiac, at least in Injustice 2, his explanation was that he values knowledge when it's rare. Which is a weird concept. Where it's like that knowledge doesn't become valuable. I don't know, it's like he makes it rare simply because he goes to a planet, extracts what knowledge he wants from it, then proceeds to lay waste to that planet until there's nothing left and not a lot of people left. In which case I'm like, but then the knowledge wasn't rare when you collected it. You suddenly made it rare. But that just makes it seem less valuable because it wasn't rare to begin with. It was very commonplace. Because in the Injustice universe, it was Brainiac who laid waste to Krypton in order to destroy the planet. Whereas, well, I don't know, the origin. Well, DC's keeps rebooting its universe, so the exact origins of how Krypton was destroyed tends to change. If I remember, it was like a natural disaster or a natural cataclysmic event that happens that causes Krypton to be destroyed, as opposed to any like outside interference. But with Injustice, that's what it was. In Injustice universe, it was Brainiac who attacked the planet and ultimately just destroyed it. But I think that alone gives it a much more easy, an explanation that's more easily understood, at least, compared to saying it was like the planet being destabilized or cataclysmic event. In which case, I was like, okay, what was this cataclysmic event? What was this thing that happened that was just so instantaneous that led to Krypton's destruction? And how was it that only Superman's father Jor-El and his wife were able to detect this event, and when they warned everyone else on Krypton, no one believed them? Because I'm thinking, if it's a disaster like that, one, how does it happen so suddenly? Because, I don't know, I think for a cataclysmic event that can destroy a whole planet, it has to be from a series of events that happens over time. Of course, I probably would assume that that part of the solar system that Krypton existed in would have to be somewhere where naturally something like that could happen to the planets within that solar system. Unlike, say, somewhere on Earth. Although it was explained for Superboy Prime that on his Earth, in the Prime universe, or what was it? Yeah, Earth Prime, where Krypton didn't like blow up or anything. It was absorbed. It was absorbed into, what was it? Yeah, it was enveloped by that world's red sun. Like some kind of strong gravitational pull caused the planet to be enveloped or absorbed by the sun. We got 2 tanks, healer, and 1 controller. So Dick John, please don't jam, and me making up the DPS. I miss being able to one-shot people. Truly a testament to Ajax's same power. '43 combat rating. Lex is such an idiot here. Like, seriously, he doesn't understand. I guess he does have some idea how the Phantom Zone works, but for some reason, Lex Luthor is all like, "Oh, we need more help. Let me go to this object that I did not create and don't entirely understand how it works, and unleash a bunch of criminals who were put there for a reason." Lex Luthor may be smart in various fields, but his sheer arrogance, narcissism, and entitlement makes him pretty stupid socially. Well, all I can think of is, "You idiot!" Oh well. Like, even someone like Ajax, crazy as he is, would know better than that. Of course, Ajax is more of what you would call a organized type of chaos. Or like Joker, he comes up with crazy ideas but likes to have it planned out and scheduled in a way to make it more entertaining for him. Of course, that term controlled chaos, I got that from when I was watching Brandon Rogers. I was watching one of his videos. After watching a video where someone took the voiceover from one of his videos onto and clipped it onto a video that was just a bunch of sketches of Blitz from Hell of a Boss, since Brandon Rogers voices that character. And I remember someone referred to how Brandon Rogers' videos are just so chaotic and random in a way that Blitz himself is the more orderly type compared to Brandon in his videos, where Brandon is that sort of like chaotic or random, hectic sort of chaos, and Blitz himself is the controlled chaos. And I was like, yeah, that's basically how I describe Ajax. Since he's usually more composed, like he's crazy, chaos is his thing, or one of his things, but he's still more controlled and orderly about it. Hey, Dick John, you gonna help or something? It always sucks when you're playing a game like this. You're playing with other people, other humans. You fail a mission, and they want to say it's all your fault somehow. Like and it's weird because the number of times where I've been harassed by people for not playing my role of a tank or healer usually happens more often with the tank role, when I play as a character who has tank-based powers. Then I get blamed for not going tank, or it's a mission where I don't want to go tank, but they keep harassing me about it until I do, so I just do it anyway. So then I started making a habit of actually making an effort to play that alternate role besides DPS, specifically healer or tank, instead of waiting for someone to tell me. And then they'll start harassing me over that. They start cussing me out or saying a whole bunch of mean things in the chat, telling me to switch to DPS. And I'm like, who made you the boss? That's like one of the things that people get so emotional over for some reason in this game, is what role others on their team play or choose to play. So they'll demand that person play an alternate role, and that person says no, and they'll start cussing at them and making insults. Like somehow that's supposed to make the situation any better. Like one time, what was it? I was playing this and we were doing a mission and I can't remember what role I was. I think I was playing tank role. And someone told me to just simply go DPS. And I said, who died and made you the leader? Or something like that. And they immediately got all emotional about it, saying, well, I'm the one keeping your punk ass alive, all this other shit. I was just like, calm down, dude, it's just a game. And it's at its most annoying when we're doing a raid. Like, it's 8 of us. How the heck is it that out of the 8 players here, I'm the one you choose to single out as the one being at fault? Like, I'm trying to do my best to be a tank and distract the enemy, or trying my best to be a healer and keep everyone alive, and if we fail, suddenly it's all my fault. But the weirdest and most unlikely of it when it happened was when I was playing as a controller type character. Yeah, I was playing as Norvar. And the thing is like, I'm not really good at playing as a controller as far as like keeping everyone's powers up and running. Which is why I didn't even sign up for controller in that mission. I was playing DPS. And someone tried to blame me for us failing at one point. We got beaten by a boss, so we had to start that part of the mission over. And someone, for some weird reason, decided to blame me, trying to get everyone else to, like, saying it was all my fault, how I did nothing helpful just because I was playing DPS instead of controller or troll. And yet for some reason they were trying to insinuate it was my fault that we failed to beat that boss. And it's like, I hate when that happens. I'm like, well, what's your alternate role besides DPS? Why don't you play that role then, so you can contribute more? Excuse me. And then some other jackass tried to jump in saying, kick Najax, because that was my character's name at the time instead of Nor. And I'm thinking to myself, WTF, what's up with these people trying to gang up on me? And what's crazy is the reason why they were blaming me and getting on my case. Because someone else was speaking or talking in the chat and I couldn't understand what they were saying. And I typed, speak English. And they were saying how English isn't their first language. Like, I understood that, but then this person was like, hey, you're one to talk, Najax. What were you doing out there? And I'm like trying to blame me again. Just blaming me and saying it was my fault because I didn't play my role as a controller. And I'm like, how do you take this as an opportunity to harass me and blame me? And all I did was tell the person to speak actual words. Because they were typing English words, but definitely not no actual English sentences. I'm like, man, what is the point of me playing this game, playing these raids, or even 4-player missions if I'm gonna have people harassing me and getting on my case because I didn't play the role that they demand that I play, even though they're not the leader of the group, so they have no business bossing me around. So whenever they do that, I usually just leave. Cause like it's just no point in trying to argue with them because it's never gonna get through to their thick skulls that they're not the leader. 2, I don't have to play this role because I don't want to. Seriously, where's the room where we saw all that Brainiac machine that had that the treasure chest in it? Wait, I heard it. Somewhere over here. I don't know why, but I like this headpiece I have Najax is wearing. And I hate when this happens, certain missions where you have to carry in an item, and for some reason, you're not allowed to use your alternate methods of travel. Can't fly, can't use super speed, can't use whatever the hell it is for acrobatics. Sprint. You know, even if they don't reverse the nerfs, even if combat ratings don't go back to how they originally were, where your combat rating carries over into whatever missions you do, even if they don't ever adjust that, I should really just go back to sticking to just 1-player and 2-player missions. Because at least in 1-player, I can waste as much time as I want, do whatever the hell I want without problem. And with duos, usually people don't bug you about whatever role you choose to play when in duos. Like it happens mostly in raids and 4-player missions, but between 4 and 8-player missions, I'd say 8-player missions where it's probably the most frequent. Which is annoying as hell, because again, how is it that out of everybody, I'm the one person you gotta single out? Even because I'll just never understand it. It's just one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't situations. Like if I play my alternate role, then I have people harassing me, telling me to go back to DPS because apparently I suck at playing my alternate role, supposedly. But if I choose not to play my alternate role, people will harass me for that, trying to say we failed the mission because I didn't go tank or healer or whatever. And then others would join in trying to say it's my fault. You know, I never really timed these missions. From 1 to 8-player missions, I never timed them. Like definitely some of these feel like they could take a long while based on just how difficult the enemy is, or how many hits the enemy can take before they finally go down. Or when you reach a certain part where you have to beat like a certain number of enemies, or defeat a boss but they're too difficult and people keep leaving the instance, so that can cause it to take longer than usual. Oh right, I'm in my tank role. I forgot for a moment. Why is the simplified ventilator 35? Should not cost that many replay tokens. It ain't even that special. That is so something Lex Luthor would say. Dang it. Oh, there's a small part of the mouth that's still left exposed with this mask on. You can't really see it. Nothing around here. Why am I so nervous about the fact that someone might try to pull what I was just talking about earlier, or I play a role that they DPS? Because so far none of them got on my case for wanting to do DPS. Now that I switched to tank, I won't be surprised if one of them says, "Najax, go DPS" or whatever. And I'll say no or something like that. It just goes from there. I'll be all like, "Are you such and such, or is your name this and that, or are you responsible for this and this?" And if they say no, I'll just be all like, "Shut up." That's something I wanted to try on someone. Because it was an episode of Martin where someone knocks on Martin's door while all his friends are over, and he opens the door and a couple of midgets just walk into his house past him. And they just stand there so casually, like they own the place. And Martin's getting on them, saying you can't just walk into someone's house like that and walk past them, because that's just rude. And one of them asks, "Is your name Tommy?" And as soon as Martin says no, the dude's just like, "Just shut up." And I'm just like, dang, that's funny. Like, yeah, definitely a jackass move, just walking to someone's house and just standing there for a while like you own the place. But man, I'll probably do something like that too. Where someone says something or asks a question and I ask them in return if they're this and this, or is their name such and such. And because I know they're going to say no, more than likely. And then I just tell them, "Shut up." There's so much stuff from that show, from Martin, that I just found so funny. But it's almost like with a lot of shows where it starts off good in the beginning, still pretty good in the second season, maybe even third season. But it's like once a show reaches that point, like oftentimes by the third or fourth season is when the quality of the show feels like it's just taking a real dive. That happens too often. Even with my favorite cartoon of all time, Ed and Eddie, it definitely noticeably happened there. Where all of its best episodes were in the first two seasons, and from, I'd say, the moment Ed and Eddie really took a dive in quality was every season following them going back to school to Peach Creek. because apparently all the earlier episodes was over the course of summer break, going from the beginning to the end of summer. Exabyte data slaves? Who the fuck is he calling a slave, you son of a bitch? You know, between people demanding that you play a specific role that they want you to, in other words, play their way instead of your way, between that, people begging for items or for money in this game constantly, the bots in this game trying to advertise stuff, there's just so much that goes on in this game that would probably make the average person just want to quit playing, or even for those who really enjoy MMORPGs, just have all that stuff I just listed, or just make a lot of people want to quit playing. But the fact that you have all that tenfold in this game, it's crazy how there's still so many people who enjoy this game and still play it on a daily basis. But it is a free game. Like, obviously that's with any online game. It's like it's free, but to get the best stuff that it has to offer, you gotta pay for the membership. Same thing with other MMO games that I play, like Neverwinter and Dauntless. I remember there was one I played where the game itself is free, but to be able to play it online against actual players, you have to buy the membership. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? I've actually never heard of that. Where the game itself is free, you can play by yourself with a bunch of bots. To play the actual online multiplayer, you gotta pay for the membership. I'm like, at that point, you might as well just make me have to pay for the game in general, instead of all this BS. Although one of the cool things about PC Online is just the amount of customization you can do for a character. So many people I've seen running around with their characters dressed up like characters from other series. So not just all the Supermans, Shazams, Wonder Womans, and even a few Martian Manhunters I see running around here. All the Goku and Vegetas and Brolys. Few Friezas, what the heck? A few My Hero Academia characters. Of course, it's not just not just DC and anime characters, but others from other comic books. All the Marvel characters, all the Marvel characters, well, now it's not a lot of characters from Invincible, mainly just Invincible himself and his dad, Omni-Man. I wonder if 180 is the max rank for the solar amplifier. As usual, Lex tries to treat it like things have changed since then. What? Lex, as usual, instead of taking accountability for his actions, tries to act like it's Superman's fault that Zod got out of the Phantom Zone. Even though it was Lex himself who released him in the first place. Some grade A entitlement. Which I'm like, how do you do that exactly? You release a dangerous criminal, but it's somehow this guy or that guy's fault. That's like what I was talking about earlier. Dealing with narcissists who, instead of accepting what happened as their fault because they're the ones who did it, instead they'll go to great lengths to try to pin it on you. Like, say, someone who lets a dog out of its what was it, kennel? Out of its, like, letting a dog out when the dog was supposed to stay wherever it was locked up in. Especially if that dog is dangerous, who just likes to run off to dangerous areas. And then instead of admitting it was their own fault, they'll say, well, you shouldn't have let this so I could do this or do that, or you shouldn't have left it here or there. And I'll look at that person, I'll be like, really? You're gonna blame this on me? Not bad. Man, it feels like I've just been doing nothing but complaining about people and things throughout this whole stream. You know, maybe I'll do a stream in the morning. What is this, Sunday? Yeah, because right now it's 3:02. Morning's already here. I'm wondering, yeah, I think I'm probably just gonna delete this stream, and in the next live stream I do, I'll hopefully have a whole lot of stuff that's more worthwhile to talk about. I'm still first class general. That's awesome. I wonder if any of the people who are part of the same league as me are watching this live stream. But I remember I was playing as Karana. I remember I did something so messed up where I was part of the bad guys union as Karana, and I raided the bank vault and just stole a whole bunch of the cool stuff they had in there, and then just quit the league. And one of them, I'm assuming it's the leader of the league, who calls himself the Joker, like capital T, lowercase EH, and then all caps Joker. Yeah, that's just how he has his name spelled. I'm assuming he's a leader or one of the people who runs the league, who basically obviously was not happy at all about what I did, and sent me a personal message telling me I can't remember if it was the title of the letter itself or the comment. Yeah, I think it was the comment in the letter that said good riddance. And the title of the letter that they sent me Yeah, the time of the letter that they sent me read, that was a dick move or a shitty move, something like that. And at first I was thinking of what it is they're talking about and why they were sending me this message saying good riddance. And then I thought, and I remember back to when I raided the vault, and immediately I was like, oh, I guess that's what it is they're talking about. And I actually did that again at one point as Norvar. I was part of a hero league, and I did that same thing where I raided a vault and took all the good stuff they had and left. And one of them contacted me directly, like they didn't send me a letter, but they contacted me directly or through my character and asked me, they were like, yo, what's up with that? You just raided our league and just take all that shit without contributing anything. Of course I didn't say anything back, but I told myself, yeah, I should stop doing that. If it can't be traded, then why is it highlighted? Ugh. Gotta be elite guard. I wonder how much I have to contribute to reach elite guard. Yeah, I still don't know if I'm gonna keep up this stream after I'm done, or if I'm gonna delete it. We'll see. Speaking of live streams, I would really do wish I could live stream Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, because for some reason that game, my sister won't let me live stream it. Of course, I don't think I've seen anyone able to live stream Xenoverse, but I have seen them make some long videos, well over an hour. Still sucks that for some reason when I don't want to stream, but when I record videos directly on my PS4 instead of
I've come from the end of time to send you back to the past.
Gee, thanks. Like when I use my PS4 to directly record footage of whatever I'm playing, it only allows up to an hour. And I really have no idea why. That's why at most I probably would just, if I ever do start recording footage of Xenoverse 2, it would definitely be just a series of different missions and stuff that only take me like maybe a few minutes. But it would not be a whole story mode, because that would take way too long for me to be able to get it all under an hour, accounting the cutscenes, how long the fights themselves would take. There's just no way I can get all of that in under 59 minutes. As far as with the main story, with the extra stories, like the extra DLC stories with Goku Black and Universe 6 arcs, or the story arcs concerning Fu and Bora, I think for each of those individually, I can get those in under an hour. I'll try to find that out at a later time. But definitely I am starting to get tired. course, Nabu's chosen would be 35. Dang it. Is that supposed to be like a S? Like a very exaggerated S? I think it is. I don't want the blue. Alright, that's gonna be it of this stream. I'll see you all another time. Getting tired.